Nasdaq fell by more than 3% last week, and you may wonder, will the same happen this week? You are listening to the StockInvest.us podcast Trading Tips with Jim, and that is one of the questions I will try to answer in this week's podcast, which, by the way, will be shorter. By the end of the week, I had to leave to Norway, so for this week's podcast, there will be no video, only audio, and hopefully the audio will be somewhat good. Neither am I very well prepared, because it was an unexpected travel. So, doing the podcast on the road once again. Anyway, it's a new week. We are heading into week 30. Last week was one, I don't remember which day it was, but I saw Nasdaq down minus 2.8%. We were getting close to the 3% limit. And if you are a listener to this podcast, you know that I warned you about this. I said that volatility will increase, and I will not be surprised if we see the minus 3 level. I think that will continue. We are in a time of volatility. It will be more and more. I also mentioned last week that there is support at 17,500 for Nasdaq. Currently, Nasdaq sits just above that at 17,700. And we know that Biden said, I will not take a second turn. That can influence the market. I see the futures are very green this morning, and anyone following the podcast know that some weeks back, maybe a month back, crypto was falling hard, and I told you I will use the chance to buy more crypto, which I did, and what a nice ride it has been, especially the weekend after Biden announcing his out of the race. Crypto been pushing upwards. That has to do with Trump being a little bit more pro-crypto than Biden. Do I believe crypto will continue upwards? Yes, I believe crypto will continue upwards. I personally have a part in crypto, and as I told you, I think that you should consider to have a small portion of your investments in to crypto. Will not argue so much about why, because I've done this many times before. I'll just repeat one thing. I think there is upside in some of the meme coins, but this should just be a lottery ticket which you are able to lose, meaning that you are just in it more or less for the fun. Because if you really hit, you can do very well on meme coin, but it should only be money you are able to lose. Enough about crypto. We'll speak more about crypto in the future. My crypto portfolio is doing absolutely well, and I hope some of you picked up on the advice and that your portfolio is growing as well. We'll speak more about crypto in future podcasts. Back to the week ahead of us. So what is happening? Well, there will be a lot of quarter results this week, and now they start to be more interesting. Rewinding back, I told you that as we head into this new quarter, do pay attention to what the CEOs are saying. I mentioned that last quarter, to be very important, but now it's more important than ever, because it is more in the words than in the numbers. I expect quarter results to struggle a lot, actually, for many companies. And there is so many things about this. I advised you not to be directly into consumer products, because the consumer behavior is changing. So you have things which people do not necessarily need will take a hit first. Restaurants, pizzas, all of these things, they will take the hit first. I mentioned, I believe it was last week, that PepsiCo, for instance, yes, PepsiCo managed to increase the revenues. But even the CEO said that, yes, we increased the revenues, but we had less volume. People are changing their behavior. People were buying far less Pepsi. They managed to increase the profit by increasing the prices, and due to inflation, where they just cut the volume down. So you pay the same for less volume. Everyone is doing it everywhere. Probably you noticed in the shop yourself. Everyone is doing the same. But you can only cut to a certain level before it becomes a problem. And last week's unemployment number showed that we are in that situation where more and more people are being laid off, especially in the tech sector. They are laying off people at an insane pace. And you can only push the economy as far with governmental spendings before you affect inflation. And now we are fighting inflation. By the way, on Friday will be more inflation numbers as personal consumer expenditure numbers will be in. Expected to be around 2.5%. I think they will come a little bit above, just signaling that inflation is not going away. So the consumer behavior is changing. A lot of things is changing in the economy, and the government cannot simply just start to print more money, push into the economy, because that will just raise the inflation even more. That, of course, just makes me believe that consumer behavior will continue to change. It is changing already. We see it in the typical consumer-related things, as I said, restaurants, and we also start to see it in different tech sectors where there is subscriptions. People are cutting more and more subscriptions, saving where they are able to save. That, I think you will see in the quarter results number, that the CEOs in their talk will tell which part they struggle with. And here come maybe the biggest tip of the day. AI has been driving the market for the last 2 years. There's 7 major companies been driving the market last year, while most of the stocks actually been falling. These companies, they have been going up because revenues and expectations of future revenues have been sky high. But anyone who follows and like product development and follow markets and market developments and all these things know that this is very, very typical in a new product cycle. So the products in the beginning can fetch very high prices. You cannot set a target because nobody really knows where the upper limit is. You can just give a guesstimation, but nobody really knows. We saw this with Tesla. The pricing of Tesla shares and the expectations for Tesla, they were sky high. But then competitors starts to come, prices get under pressure, reality starts to kick in. The same thing is happening in the AI business as we speak. It started strongly with OpenAI, was followed by Claude and a few other AI companies. Really doing extremely well, but now competition is popping up everywhere, and you have to fight for the market in the beginning. Everything is about getting the customers. When you are the first or the very first of the few, then you can have a high price. You still get users because we want the technology. The early adopters want the technology. They will pay more or less whatever it costs in the beginning. But competition come, more people come, more subscriptions come. Then they start to fight about price. We are at that level now where the AIs are fighting over the customers with price. You need the customers. These companies, many of them are scaled. Their expenses, their organization are scaled for a future expectation in income, meaning that they have to stay on the growth path of getting users. So and if there is a lot of competitors who lower their prices, you have to lower their prices. Saying that these companies have driven the markets upwards, now they are facing the toughest of the toughest times. I think they will pull the market down. So my tip is maybe start to look into other companies than these major ones, because I think some of them can stand in front of a quite huge fall. Personally, I will buy them back up when they have the natural decline. When we have the shakeout phase, now there is AI popping up everywhere, engines popping up everywhere, and this will have to consolidate. Some will buy smaller ones, but the business will start the phase of consolidation, and they will take a toll. I think that many of them will fall, and we, or at least me, will use the chance when they are bound for the real long upturn. What I wanted to say is that since these are so big, I think it will be hard for the market. Now, before telling you a few of the quarter results coming out, looking at the chart, we can tell that Nasdaq was very, very overbought last week. Same goes for Nifty 50. I know that many of my followers are from India, very happy about that. And as I said, the market is very overbought. It's natural to have a reaction. While the Indian stock market seems to me to have more downturn ahead, Nasdaq may pull upwards this week. Futures are green, but I'm not sure it will hold during all week. I will not be surprised if it will be yet another red week. Nasdaq pushing down to 17,500. We had the first correction. It is typical, very, very typical. It might just be that we will have a strong bounce up before falling hard again. As I mentioned, I believe it will be high volatility. This is a trader's market. Not sure if I would like to stay overnight if I'm trading, because one day will not necessarily be followed equally the next, meaning that you may have a super green day today, tomorrow bloody red one, and then back in the green on Wednesday. It's that kind of market I expect moving forward. During the week we will have some quarter results. They are starting to come bigger ones, and today it will be Verizon, for instance, and SAP is one of them. There will be some economic numbers, but it's not really very interesting. Tomorrow will be much more interesting when Google will put out their numbers. Personally, I think Google is a shorting candidate. I never, maybe I said over all these years, once or twice said that a company could be a shorting candidate, but I think Google will struggle as we move ahead. Google is a super giant, and they absolutely have an insane space, the tech space. But I think Google will start to show the huge effect of what AI has done to Google search, knowing that the search platform is one of the main income drivers for Google. I think this quarter results will be the first we really see how AI is changing the world. We will have Capital One, Comcast, we will have General Motors, very interesting to see. Lockheed Martin, while Lockheed Martin I think will just do good, war industry will continue to do very good. We will have Spotify, and very interesting numbers from Tesla, UPS, and Texas Instrument, and Visa will also be tomorrow. About EV, about Tesla, I told you I personally have invested more and more in EV, because I think it is a huge upside in electrical vehicles. They are here to stay. It's just a transition phase. We had that euphoric beginning, realism kick in. Now everyone is talking about only staying with fossil cars. But the future is electric. There has been built tons of charger infrastructure. The cars have gotten from 300 kilometer each up to 700. I think I even saw 1,000 kilometer each in one battery charge. Now, these are here to stay. And now we will just have that realistic growth. Doesn't mean that all of the companies will survive. Doesn't mean that there will be much money made over the next few months. But personally, I believe EV, and anyone listening to this podcast know that when Tesla was up in old days back in 2500, I told you it's just insane. Stay out of EV. I remember NIO was up at some $60. This is not sustainable. Now I am on the opposite end of things, and as you know, NIO is in the $1,000 challenge, which I will get back to in just a few minutes. Wednesday we'll continue with some more numbers. We will have Chipotle, Ford. Chipotle, by the way, goes for consumer behavior. Same with General Motors, will IBM and Whirlpool. Waste management on Thursday. Very interesting. We will have second quarter GDP. And this will give you the real acid test. If you are heading in for a soft landing or not, I would recommend you to follow on the GDP on Thursday. Jobless claims, which increased last week. Everyone was surprised, but you were not surprised because you listened to this podcast and I told you that will happen. Anyway, we'll just continue upwards in my estimation. Unemployment rate will also just continue upward. Currently sitting at 4.1%. I think let's speak after Christmas and we are already past 5 on the fast way to 6%. Thursday will be yet a lot of companies. RTX is maybe one of the most interesting there, together with AstraZeneca. Friday will be just a few interesting companies. Colgate Palmolive is one of them, again for consumer behavior, to see how consumers are behaving. Very interesting, because it's one of the ways, if you start to understand how money flows, some money will flow somewhere. When we change our behavior, what will we do? Which company? Usually it goes like this. We go from high-end customers to more products to more middle, cheaper products. We go from buying at more expensive shops to less expensive shops. So who are these? Are you able to identify it? Usually in any countries you have chains which are at the upper end. Then you have cheaper chains, and I believe that you will see a growth into cheaper chains, what is considered to have like less quality products but then less cheaper price. 3M will also be on Friday. I believe that will be enough about the market. I think it will be, as I said, super volatile market moving ahead. Last week I gave you some stocks which I think, or I thought would hold, because I said I believe it will be a volatile week. I will believe it will be a red week. I gave 2 tips for India. I gave 2 tips for US. And I said these stocks I believe have potential upside, and more important, and I want you to listen to this and take a note of it, more important, they might hold good if markets go down. One of these companies were Frontline, and I see some discussion on the Discord channel about Frontline. The reason I said Frontline was because I believe there was a potential upside. For sure, it should most likely hold good if market went down. I started the podcast saying that Nasdaq went down by more than 3% last week. Frontline went up, not by much, but exactly what we wanted. Not to be totally exposure in the downside, still having the potential upside. By the way, I see the future for Frontline is very good today. Hopefully it will just continue upwards. I barely checked one of the Indian stock, BART or something. I think that one went up like 2%. The other two I cannot remember by head. I have the papers back in Vilnius. As I said, I'm out traveling, but I will get back to them next week. NIO is the stock I have in the $1,000 challenge. I started with $1,000. We were up at 3,860 or something last week. $1,000 has been growing up to 3,800 and some 60 in NEO, but NEO had a small fall last week, so I'm not exactly sure because I don't have numbers, but let's say we now probably are somewhere around $3,500, $600, I think. Am I still in NEO? Yes, NEO didn't fall enough to be cut by stop loss, so NEO stays. So there is no change in the $1,000 challenge. I still sit in NEO, and I expect NEO to have a nice upside. Do I believe NEO is a good buy now? Yes, I do believe NEO is a good price buy at current levels. We will have Tesla numbers. All of these things can shake the market, and there is no guarantee. But for the $1,000 challenge, I still will stay in NEO. If it's cut by stop loss, I will post that on the YouTube version. I will write if it's stopped. Or if I, for some reason, but I cannot see any huge reason why to sell NEO now. What I do want to go, no, I consider NEO to already be very, very hammered down. So if markets really, really tank, I think NEO can hold somewhat good, but still it should fall too much because it's that kind of stock. Still, so it's not like perfect now. I would say that I rather would sit in Frontline than NEO, but we in the $1,000 challenge, or I in the $1,000 challenge, I'm trying to grow this money as fast as I can, so I have to take a gamble. I told you I will have to take a gamble. Now the weather outside is cloudy. It's only 17 degrees where I'm sitting outside Ålesund in a small city called Ulsteinvik. Place of Vikings, by the way. When I left Vilnius, it was almost 30 degrees, so back to old Norway. I will stay a few days here, then had to help my daughter, and of course if she calls, I go. That's just how it is, and I hope you do the same. If family or friends are calling on you, prioritize. I hope more than anything that you will have a very good week, and by the end of the week, and especially if you come back next Monday for next podcast, that when you look at your portfolio, it's much greener than in the beginning of the week. Until then, just have a super week. Bye.
Welcome to StockInvest.US Stock Analysis. We remind you that trading involves a high risk of losing money, and that you should speak with a financial advisor before buying or selling any securities. You should not base your investment decision upon StockInvest.US. By using the information, you agree and are held liable for your own investment decisions.